Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Welcome to our March 11, 2024 meeting. Let's begin. Item 1, roll call. All members of council are present and accounted for. I'll ask everyone to please stand for the Territorial Land Acknowledgement Statement and Moment of Reflection, followed by the National Anthem. The land acknowledgement.
Nous reconnaissons que nous sommes sur le territoire non cédé des Anishinaabe et les terres traditionnelles des peuples Haudenosaunee, Huron-Wendat, Cayenne-Kahaka. Nous reconnaissons notre obligation commune de respecter, d'honorer et de préserver ces terres, les ressources naturelles qu'elles contiennent.
Whereas Canada is founded upon principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law, let us take a moment of personal reflection. Merci, thank you. Item 4, additions, deletions, or amendments. We have one item under 18B, Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee for myself. Anything else, members of council? Additions, changes? No. Item 5, motion, adoption of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda as amended. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Conseiller Lalonde. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 6, déclaration d'intérêt pécuniaire. No. Item 7, adoption of minutes, regular council minutes of February 26, 2024. Motion to approve the following minutes as presented. Need a mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Lorrain, seconded by Councillor Deakin. Questions, comments on the minutes? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 8A, citizen recognition. There she is. One of the greatest moments for me as mayor is to celebrate the extraordinary contributions of truly remarkable individuals in our community. And this evening, I can think of no one more deserving than Connie Johnston. Tonight, we recognize her dedication and impact with the Community Builder and Volunteerism Award. For over 13 years, Connie has been a beacon of inspiration in Russell Township through her trivia fundraisers. These events have become a staple in our community, so much that they are booked into 2025 due to their popularity and the pressing needs they address. Every few weeks, on average, Connie leads a team to raise funds for local citizens, groups, and causes serving the community's greatest needs. Connie's commitment extends beyond these fundraisers. As a charter member of the King Club of Russell, she played a pivotal role in her projects such as the Fort Mac We've Got Your Back event and the Jonathan Petrie Butterfly Mile. Her efforts have raised hundreds of thousands of dollars, all without remuneration, purely for the betterment of our community. Moreover, Connie's dedication to preserving our history is evident in her writing of a book on the history of Russell at the present time. This is a testament to her deep love and respect for our township and its heritage. Whenever there is a need, Connie is there. Her unwavering commitment and selfless acts of kindness have made a profound impact on the lives of so many in our community. Therefore, I hope this small step will reiterate how much the entire community loves and respects you. Connie, when you reach out, I am always excited to see what wonderful new idea you have come up with and how we as a township can make it a reality. Therefore, I proudly present Connie Johnston with the Community Builder and Volunteerism Award as a small token of our appreciation for her immense contributions and as a symbol of our gratitude for her inspiring leadership and dedication to Russell Township. Thank you. I'll ask you to come up front, Connie. Member, just over here, members of council.
I want to thank everybody very much for this wonderful award. I'm only as good as the people behind me, and I have some of them with me tonight. But it's a joy to live in this community, and again, thank you very much.
Thank you. One of the better parts of our jobs. We'll move on to the next item. Item 9, delegations, we have none. Item 10, point par consentement, motion que tous les documents énumérés sous les points de consentement soient reçus tels que présentés. A, demande de proclamation et levée du drapeau, semaine de fierté du 8 au 17 juin 2024. B, demande pour le programme de subvention communautaire du département des parcs et loisirs, budget 2024. C, procès verbal du comité consultatif sur la diversité, l'équité et l'inclusion communautaire, 6 novembre 2023. D, procès verbal du village partiellement autonome de Russell, du 2 octobre 2023, 6 novembre 2023, 8 janvier 2024. E, procès verbal du comité consultatif des adolescents du 31 janvier 2024. F, procès verbal des Comtés unis de Prescott et Russell du 24 janvier 2024. Et G, procès verbal du conseil d'administration de la conservation de la Nation Sud du 18 janvier 2024. Questions, commentaires, questions, comments, members of council? Hearing, seeing none. Need a mover and a seconder to put on the floor. Moved by Councillor Deacon, seconded by Councillor Tarnowski. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Item 11, reports from departments and council committees. Item A, Affordable Attainable Housing Committee Report Review, Report PD 2024-07. The council received Report PD 2024-07 dated March 11th, 2024, and approved the following recommendation. That the Township of Russell hire a consultant to conduct a review and complete a needs assessment on the affordable housing in the Township of Russell, as well as conduct a review of the Affordable and Attainable Housing Committee's affordable and attainable housing within the Township of Russell report to determine if the 6 recommendations outlined in the report are necessary and feasible. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Deakin.
I have a few comments. As the committee, we spent 8 months looking at the census, CMHC data, regional projections, interviews with local housing providers and individual residents themselves. We did quite a bit of work, and so I'm less interested in finding out the if we should do an action plan and much more interested in getting moving on this work and the next steps. Out of that report, for folks in the room maybe who haven't had a chance to read it, the number that sticks with me most is 0, and that's the number of rent geared to income affordable units that can be presently found in Russell Township for folks who aren't seniors. So those, hypothetical units that don't exist currently would be for people on low income, single parents, people with disabilities, the working poor, and there's nothing here for them right now. And we heard that quite a bit. And even for seniors, we also heard, that there's an extensive wait list for rent geared to income apartments, as well as general dwellings for seniors as well. So those were things that really stuck with me. And I support hiring a consultant to determine those next steps. And again, it's less for me, it's the if, it's the, okay, what next, how much, let's go. I did have a few comments related to the consultant's process that was proposed. So the first one was just wondering about inflation. We're further away from the census. The 2021 census is now a few years old, and we've seen quite a bit of inflation in those years. We know that there are renters here who have seen their rents almost double in those few years. And so wondering, just food for thought, how will the consultant factor that into the projections? The second point was on open houses and surveys, and it's wonderful to see them baking right into the process, engagement with the public on this very important conversation. And I just want to make sure that there's some outreach made for those residents who are experiencing housing precarity right now. It's an extremely stigmatized situation to be in when you're about to lose your housing. And these are folks who are difficult to reach, don't have a lot of time, and don't have a lot of resources to come to things like open houses. And I also just want to acknowledge that there will be voices in this outreach and engagement that won't be heard at all. Just last week, I was speaking with a very committed community member who had reached out to me wanting to get involved to organize some local community events here in Russell. She says, Russell has the best school for my kids. We love every minute that we lived there, but that was kind of the elephant in the room that she was getting at, is she had to leave Russell because she couldn't afford it anymore. And she's still giving, still wanting to volunteer and organize events in a place that she can no longer afford to live in. So her voice will be missed. A lot of young people who grew up here aren't here anymore. They can't afford to buy here. And a lot of seniors who lived here for decades and worked and volunteered are also moving out of our community because it's not affordable for them. So I think about, that vision of a close-knit community for everyone here in Russell, and that's why I feel a real sense of urgency to move forward with an actual action plan out of this. So again, for me, if it's not so much if, it's what and how much, and let's go. And some food for thought on the consultant's approach. And just another thank you to the volunteer committee members who put substantial work into to get us here where we are today. And I want to hire the consultant and get this moving.
Okay, thank you very much. Other questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Lalonde?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to build on a few of the comments that were made by Councillor Deakin. I've actually prepared a few notes so that I stay right on track, and for the sake of time, I'll just read something brief. I want to start by saying certainly I appreciate the time and effort that staff and the CAO took to carefully review the report that the Affordable Housing Committee put together over the last 8 months. There was indeed a lot to consider and to digest amongst the 6 recommendations that the committee spent the better part of the year developing. So I appreciate the time that it has taken now, staff and the CAO, to look at this stuff carefully. Just Just a few comments then that I'd like to make and a few suggestions. I think staff's proposal to hire the expert consultant, I concur with Councillor Deacon. I think it's a good idea. You know, Councillor Deacon, myself, and the group, the Affordable Committee group, I mean, we never tried to suggest that we were subject matter experts on housing. We certainly had our hearts in the right place, and we worked very hard and tried to be quite serious about the process in order to make up a little bit for the fact that we were not subject matter experts. So the fact that we could have one now, I think, is welcome, especially if they're able to dig in a little deeper and dot some I's, cross some T's, double check some facts and figures. I appreciate too that having an expert consultant do this kind of work is going to serve us down the road when it comes time maybe to apply for grants and funding and those sorts of things, because it's that type of a report that'll be required in the application process. That being said, I think I echo Councillor Deacon's remarks that there are some statements in the report that touched me. One was a statement that said, you know, they'll be determining whether any of the 6 recommendations are even necessary or feasible. I think for sure there are some that are quite necessary, and to echo the comment of earlier, for us as we got through the process, it wasn't a question any longer of whether there was going to be a need to act, but more so what kind of action was going to be required. So we still believe in that firmly. I would expect a number of those recommendations to pass the litmus test of the consulting firm. I'm reminded too, because I sit on some other committees outside of township. There's a housing and homeless committee that I sit on with the United Counties Prescott Russell, and there's also a consultative committee that I sit on, organized by the Valorous Group. And in one of our meetings, the housing manager for United Counties, we were pushing and shoving on the issue of numbers and the evolution of housing and homelessness. And he made a rather emotional remark in the middle of it all to say, listen, if we don't start building real affordable housing in this area, we're going to have to start thinking about building shelters. And that has stuck with me ever since. Some might find that to be a slight exaggeration, but over the last 8 months for us, I think there's some real truth in the comments that were made, albeit by the housing manager himself. I note that the key stakeholder consultation section of staff's report suggests that indeed the stakeholder engagement the consultant's going to in fact be retracing some of our own steps. We did meet with developers, all of the seniors home operators and executive, and as well the community groups working here. So as I mentioned when I delivered the report in January, there's a lot of complementary information that we prepared that go along with the report, and I would certainly be happy and prepared to share any of that additional information with a consultant if asked to do so. Staff talk about referring to strategic plan objective number 6, which of course makes a lot of sense here. It's to work with mandated partners in creation of an affordable housing strategy. I would suggest as we go forward that maybe we add the first objective as well, at least the first sentence of it, so that we be known as a bold leader amongst our peers. Because I think what we're proposing here, and as we get into the next phase of this, is some pretty bold ideas and new ways of looking at things through a new lens. Just a couple things then left to say. We aimed a little higher in our recommendation, number 5, than I think staff has. I know they're talking about an additional resource that would have some level of engagement with the community. It talks about also activities and what have you. But in our case, we're sort of hinting or urging for someone of a caliber of a subject matter expert who would identify and leverage FedProv grants, funding opportunities, who would actually be out and about working with, soliciting the involvement of community partners, something like a resource dedicated to identifying and developing business cases with healthcare providers, supported living services, not-for-profit organizations. So we're aiming a little higher in the sense of looking for something of a champion to work on the affordable housing requirements of our vulnerable population. Although I do appreciate that a resource is being talked about here, I'm hoping maybe the consultants' work will point to something a little more dynamic in the sense of the level of expertise and the sort of responsibilities that might be considered here. That being said, and maybe just to finish off, I would like at this point to suggest that maybe even certainly myself and the co-chair of the committee, Councillor Deacon, would be quite prepared to join a small committee if one could be considered on the part of the CAO or staff or council, that maybe we could continue to participate in some of the work of the consultant, either through interim reports or to be available for interviews to help contribute to that process, to add some of the material that was never introduced in our report, to provide some background information and context, to look at maybe the draft report of findings when it's ready, to maybe provide some input or ideas there. I think it would help to serve to leverage the important contribution of the Affordable Housing Committee in terms of sustaining a level of engagement and involvement in this final phase of township study on affordable housing and community wealth development. So it's something our group ended up talking about at its last meeting. We expected it would be our last meeting, that, okay, so what comes next? Will we have a chance to be involved in some of that? If not us, then who? And this is where I come to rest on the idea that if I thought there was an opportunity to work in a small group and to provide some help and advice there of the type that we're able to give, that would be my suggestion. So thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to staff again for the careful review that they've done. Certainly the recommendation for the hiring a consultant, as I say, Councillor Deacon and myself fully support that idea. And we'll probably also want to suggest an amendment to the motion when we get there, so thank you.
Thank you. So we'll make sure to remove that item to vote on it separately. Other members? Councillor Lorrain?
I just have one question. This is more for staff, so for Monsieur Godet. I have no problem supporting the recommendation. I think it makes sense. I support Councillor Deacon and Councillor Lalonde and their committee's efforts on this. My question is, in the report, it looks as though we went out to a competitive bid process for a consultant, but I don't see any of that information in the report other than this is who we're choosing for this amount of money. So I'm just wondering where that information is.
Yeah, I think it's because, well, Monsieur Godin, through our purchasing policy at this level of funding, it doesn't require an actual tender. It's 3 quotes, correct, Monsieur Godin?
Through Ms. Mayor, so that's correct. So at the value of $20,000 to $30,000, it's considered a low value contract. We don't require council authority to award that contract, but we did still want to give council an update and have council approval or agreement on the path we've chosen to go.
Okay. It was only because you had went to 3 quotes. I figured the information would be there, would be available, but.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Monsieur Godin, Madame Tremblay, a lot of comments issued. Did you have anything to add?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I took notes, so those are all valid comments. I just want to make sure that we can, confirm that we had that conversation with the consultant that were selected, and they are aware of the report that was conducted by the committee. They were shared the report as well, and we made sure in the conversation with them that they would use that report to start helping them conduct the study moving forward. And you're absolutely correct that if we want to apply for grants, we need to have that assessment conducted. And we have no issue to produce the action plan at the same time as the assessment as well.
Yeah. And I think realistically, as we move forward down this path, there'll be some tough conversations, right? Because affordable housing is traditionally not a lower tier municipal responsibility. It's traditionally at the upper tier. Obviously, we have limited resources. So I'm looking forward to the needs assessment and the action plan so that council can take those two items and discuss how do we move this forward, what kind of partnerships we can build, and what level of engagement do we want to get involved in. So I think once these studies are presented to council, it'll be interesting discussions for sure. So, okay. Anything else before we move on? Councillor Tarnowski?
Thank you. And again, I support the direction we're going on this. Je voulais juste savoir, pour les fonds de 15 ou 16 000 je sais que ça sort de nos professional fees. Je voulais savoir si on s'attend à avoir un impact ou ce qui va en manquer à la fin de l'année, avant la fin de l'année.
Monsieur Godin?
Merci, M. Maire. Thank you for the question, Councilor Tarnowski. Donc, à cette valeur-là, pas nécessairement. Je veux dire, sur un budget d'environ 50 millions, on croit pouvoir trouver les fonds. Cela étant dit, si jamais on arrive à la fin de l'année puis on a un déficit dû à cette étude-ci, bien, on a des réserves qu'on peut vérifier pour aller chercher. Et à la limite, s'il n'y en a pas de réserve non plus, on peut toujours inclure la ligne au budget de l'année prochaine pour rembourser dans le fond les réserves qui seraient utilisées.
Okay. D'autres questions, commentaires? So no, we'll be voted on separately. We'll move on to the next item. Item B, frais de la construction des systèmes d'eau et d'égout de Limoges modifiés, rapport CSAS-FS 2024-02. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport CSAS-FS 2024-02 daté du 11 mars 2024 et approuve les deux règlements pour modifier les frais de construction pour le système d'eau et d'égout de la région de Limoges. Questions, commentaires, membres du Conseil? Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing, seeing none. Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Bourgon, anything else to add to the report? No? Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Item C, 2023 Statement of Remuneration and Council Expenses, Report CSAS-FS 2024-03. The Council received Report CSAS-FS 2024-03 dated March 11, 2024, and acknowledge receipt of this itemized statement on remuneration and expenses paid during the year 2023 to members of council and to each person other than a member of council appointed by the municipality. Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing none. Anything to add from the administration? No? Okay, move on. Item D. Règlement omnibus afin d'abroger les règlements 18, rapport CSAS-CL 2024-01. Que le Conseil reçoive le rapport CSAS-CL 2024-01 daté du 11 mars 2024 et adopte le règlement omnibus proposé afin d'abroger les règlements 18. Questions, commentaires, membres du Conseil? Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing, seeing none. Anything to add to the report from the administration? No. Move on to the next item. Item E, Recommendation 2024-001 of the Teens Advisory Committee, Key Performance Indicators Update. The Council received Recommendation 2024-001 dated January 31st, 2024 from the Teens Advisory Committee with respect to the update on committee's key performance indicators. Questions, comments, members of council? Hearing, seeing none. Anything to add from the administration? Nope. All right. Move on to the next item. Thème 12, rapport d'un investigateur ou l'ombudsman, il n'y en a pas. Item 13, notice of motions, we have none. Item 14, question period on meeting of the day. So a little slight just notification for question period meeting of the day. I invite anyone who has a question on the agenda to please come up to the lectern, state your name and address. There'll be a form to fill out. Before asking a question on the meeting of the day, please fill in your name and address on the attendance sheet. Optional, if you wish to be contacted by a member of council or the administration, you may leave a phone number or email on the attendance sheet. State only your name before asking your questions. Disclaimer, please be aware that by asking questions during the council meeting, you are consenting to be part of the live broadcast and the official public recording of the proceedings. Questions must be in relation to the agenda of the day. So I'll please ask anyone who has a question on the meeting today to please come up to the lectern and state your name, please.
Sign first, or?
Yep, go ahead.
Tony Bass. For report, or CSASFS 2024-03. I was wondering if there's a limit that you can claim? Councilors can claim?
In regards to the, sorry, let me just bring it up here.
Number C.
C. Yeah, no, I'm looking for some reason. Oh, there we go. See, if there's a limit, yes, we do have a spending limit as far as our discretionary budgets go.
And could we know what that is?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, Monsieur Godin. The mayor's position is, I want to say, 10,400. Members of council are 5,200. That's determined, that's been like that forever.
And this is above the wages.
Yeah, this is the discretion, this is on top of your wages. So these are the funds that are used to go to conventions, for training, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Monsieur Godin, what is the amounts? Was I close on the amounts?
So for the mayor, it's 10,200, and for members of council, 3,635.
Oh, I was off.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Councillor Larrain?
And there is a remuneration bylaw that sets out the guidelines to which we can use those discretionary funds as well. We can't just go use them in any which way, shape, or form that we want. We have to follow the guidelines in that bylaw.
Correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question on the agenda today?
Doug Estabrooks.
Just sign the sheet, please.
I heard two statements tonight. One.
Can you just sign
One
the sheet, please?
Sorry.
Thanks.
One is a motion, perhaps at some point in the future, to pay $30,000 for a consultant. That money will come out of
So
Russell's.
question?
The question is, why wouldn't that cost be picked up by the United Counties? If you've indicated that it's the United Counties' responsibility, then why wouldn't they pick up the tab?
Good question. At this point in time, it's been determined by council that council wants to look at this at the local level, not just the regional level. So this is, that's why the committee was formed, and that's part of the discussion tonight as to whether council will move forward with the hiring of a consultant or not. Council could always state that we want to hire a consultant, you know, and ask the United Counties to spend the money. If that's the sole wish of council, then we can make that request, but it hasn't been mentioned yet.
It's a committee perhaps I'd like to join then.
We already had a committee in the past. They've did the last 8 months. They've done tremendous work.
Is there
But
future work to volunteer for?
so at this point in time, there is not. At this point in time, it's the consultant that will be going through the stakeholder process, Madame Tremblay. And once we get those reports, then there'll be an action plan, and we'll see where we move forward. But Madame Tremblay.
As part of the consultant work, there's going to be open houses and public consultations, so we could maybe take their name and phone number, and they could be reached as part of the communication and the public works, not the public work, but the open house and the
on that
public
matter.
meetings, yeah.
So yeah, we can definitely notify you. We'll notify everybody when that's available. But
Thank you.
thank you. Conseiller Lorrain?
Can I just confirm the number for a second? Because
It wasn't 30,000.
that's what I wanted to make sure of. It was just thrown out that there was $30,000 that we were paying. And I just wanted to confirm that right now in the report, it's 15,000 and change, plus a potential for another 6,300, whatever that is, should we adopt something else or ask for additional work, scope of the work that this consultant is doing.
That's correct.
Is that,
Yes,
Okay.
it's the amounts that are in the report.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we would not be committing ourselves to any additional funding at this time.
No, that's correct.
Thank you.
Once we get the results of that report, then it will be a more in-depth discussion on how we move forward with that. Councillor Lalonde?
Yeah, maybe just to clarify, or So the mandate that was given to the Affordable and Attainable Housing Committee from the get-go was to look specifically at the situation within the township of Russell, albeit comparing it then with other regions or municipalities in the area, but the work was to focus specifically on the township of Russell. And the work of the committee, the Affordable Housing Committee, actually, its mandate ended on February 27th. So technically, at least for now, that committee's work and the committee itself has been stood down since that date, but then it'll be to see the good work of the consultant and what might be proposed in there, along with my own recommendation for a working group to continue some of that work forward.
Thank you. And correct me if I'm wrong, Madame Tremblay, but a lot of the federal and provincial funding right now for attainable, affordable housing is not giving at the upper tier level. It's given to the lower tier level. Therefore, we would have to have this information at the lower tier level. Is that correct, Madame Tremblay?
Yes, you're correct. So the assessment, housing need assessment is a document that you need to have in order to apply for those grants at the local.
Right. So if we didn't have that documentation, we couldn't apply for any funding in that regard.
Exactly, and that's what happened in the last grant funding. Because we were not ready for the application and we didn't have the assessment.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Questions, members of the public?
Lynn Arcan.
Oui.
J'avais une question juste pour le consultant.
Oui.
Combien de temps que vous demandez d'avoir le résultat? Est-ce que c'est des affaires de 8 mois encore ou si c'est...
Pour le consultant comme tel?
Oui.
Oui. Madame Tremblay?
Oui, donc la discussion qui a été lieu, le proposal qui nous a été soumis, c'est que la présentation du rapport serait faite au mois de septembre 2024.
Et voilà. Merci.
Hello, Christine Gravan. A quick question. Will the be consultant be making the link between the affordable housing and any impacts on the taxes that residents are paying?
So, Monsieur Godin, Madame Tremblay, the information presented will be an action plan. If we proceed with the action plan, then it would be up to our administration to weigh that action plan and then provide the financial details, or?
Yes, so the action plan will determine exactly how we would have steps in short, longer, and...
Short, mid, long term?
Yeah, exactly, thanks. I have a hard time to speak tonight, I apologize. Yeah, so that's going to be part of the action plan presented by the consultant. So one of the action plan could be at looking at our taxes and how we would manage the taxes for new building that would be determined affordable.
Yep.
So yeah, that could be one of the action plan, and then we'll have to evaluate how this will affect us down the road.
Right.
For one of the action.
And that's where I stated that the discussion on resource allocation will be done at that time by council to have all those discussions and see whether the action plan presented, whether council wants to move forward, and if so, with what steps.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Other questions? Seeing none. We'll move on to the next item. Item 15, resolutions. 15 résolutions. Motion que le Conseil approuve toutes les recommandations énumérées à l'ordre du jour 11. Rapport des départements et comités du Conseil. Need a mover and a seconder to put on the floor. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Councillor Lorrain. I believe we had an amendment to remove item A. So I need a mover and a seconder to remove item A. Moved by Councillor Lalonde, seconded by Councillor Tarnowski. Any other changes? No. All those in favor of the amendment to remove item A? Opposed? Carried. So we're voting on everything except item A. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. So now we will return to item A, which 11A, which the Affordable Attainable Housing Committee Report Review, Report PD 2024-07. Need a mover and a seconder to put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Deacon, seconded by Conseiller Larin. It's on the floor. Questions, comments, amendments? Now's the time. Councillor Lalonde.
Yes, I would agree to approve the motion, but with an amendment that we would add the requirement for a development of a housing action plan to be included in the recommendations. So it would read at the end of the sentence under recommendations that the 6 recommendations outlined in the report are necessary and feasible, and to develop a housing action plan.
Right. So in the report, the extra action plan represented roughly $6,000 of additional. So we'd be looking at 15 plus the 6. So we're looking in those. Follow up that,
Yeah,
Councillor?
so I just to support that because, in fact, it was in our 6th recommendation of the affordable housing report itself that we also were calling for a housing action plan to be developed in our own recommendations, so we would certainly support it now.
Okay, perfect. So we have a mover for that amendment. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Deacon. Questions, comments on the amendment? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. The amendment is carried. So now we have it as amended. Do we have any further questions, comments, or amendments to do? Hearing, seeing none. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. Item 16, bylaws. Motion that council approve bylaws 2024-017 to 2024-020 inclusively for first, second, and third reading as listed on the agenda. 2024-017 being a bylaw to amend committees' appointments, bylaw 2022 to 124 to appoint persons and council representatives on various committees of council, to amend section 11 of Community Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Committee, D1, to appoint James McCowan Quino, and section 12 Teen Advisory Committee, D2, to appoint Abigail Mary McNair from STA. Mayor's suggestions as per section 6.4 of the committee's bylaw. 2024-018 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2016-146 regarding the waterworks rate for the capital costs in the village of Limoges as supplied by the Nation Municipality. Report CSAS-FS 2024-02, reference number 11B. 2024-019 being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2016-147 regarding the sewer rate for the capital costs in the village of Limoges as supplied by Nation Municipality. Report CSAS-FS 2024-02, reference 11B. And 2024-20 being an omnibus bylaw to repeal expired, superseded, and outlighted bylaws. Report CSAS-CL 2024-01, reference 11D. Need a mover and a seconder put on the floor, please. Moved by Councillor Deacon, seconded by Councillor Ternosky. Questions, comments? Hearing, seeing none. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 17, rapport d'affaires nouveau. Il n'y a pas. Item 18, 18A, myself, expanding rural transportation options in Ontario. This was presented at the last council meeting and it was deferred. Need a motion, mover and a seconder to put on the floor, and then we can have further discussion. Moved by Councillor Ternosky, seconded by Conseiller Larin. Questions, comments on this, this resolution? Hearing, seeing none. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. Item 18B, Transportation Master Plan Steering Committee. This was just to highlight Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Bourgon. You sent an email out to council members last week, so I thought we should just discuss this at the table. So if you could just give us a little bit of information on that.
Merci, Monsieur le maire. Donc, nous commençons là, notre revue du plan directeur de transportation pour la municipalité de Russell. Puis, on a différents groupes ou différents comités à former pour faire de la révision, pour discuter de différents aspects, là, dans le fond, de transport. Puis, un de ces comités-là, ça serait bien d'avoir un membre du conseil siéger à ces rencontres. Donc, c'est pour ça que j'ai lancé l'invitation là, aux membres du conseil, in order to have one member present during those discussions.
For the steering committee, and you have members of the public that have been, you reached out to our existing committees to get members of the public to be on this committee as well, correct?
Exactly, yeah. So we extend the invitation to our members of different committees to select 3. We'll have staff present, and there's other committees as well that will be more focused from the operational perspective as well, all in order to prepare the draft that will be available for public review, and we'll have open house as well, part of the public consultations.
Perfect. Questions, comments, members of council? Councillor Deacon?
J'aimerais exprimer mon intérêt pour faire partie du comité.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else looking to throw their name in the ring, or are we good? Councillor Tarnowski?
C'est ça, juste pour supporter la nomination de conseillère Deacon.
Okay, parfait. This isn't an actual committee of council, but I'm fine if Councillor Deacon wants to be the representative. Everybody's good with that? Perfect. There you go. No fuss, no muss, no fighting. We don't have to do a bylaw or anything like that. No arm wrestling? No. Did you want to? Okay. Later. Okay, gotcha. Perfect. All right. So that's it for items 18. Item 19, consultation publique, audience, il n'y a pas. Item 20, announcements. Members of council have any announcements? Councillor Lorrain?
It's not an announcement. I actually have a question based on one of the bylaws and the committees themselves, so that the teen advisory committee and the other one that we've added members to, do we now have the full complement of members on both of those committees? Or are we still looking?
I think we're still looking. Councillor Deacon, you chair both those committees?
To my knowledge, there's one seat vacant in the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and the Teen Advisory, we could use several more participants, so 4 or 5 for 3. Teens aged 14 to 18, but the issue is several of them are graduating at the end of this year, so we're looking for, to keep the good work of that committee going beyond June. We would want new members as well.
So that would be my announcement then.
Okay, perfect. There you go.
Thank you
Good
for the
call.
assist.
Perfect. Any other announcements, Councillor Deacon?
A couple months ago, I had many residents contacting me concerned about clear cutting that was happening on Boundary Road, and entered into some great discussions there around what sort of regulations exist with regard to coupe blanche in our township, or what sort of policies are in place. They're short discussions because there's not very much. But I wanted to raise awareness that for folks who are very interested in the issue of clear cutting and forest loss in our township, that there is an event happening on March 21st at St. Thomas Aquinas High School at 6 p.m. There will be a screening of a film called Call of the Forest, a documentary, and there will be a panel discussion after that for folks to engage in the issue, come up with ideas or things of that nature to support forest habitat in our township. And the filmmaker will actually be in attendance as well, which is quite exciting.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was presented a few years ago. Same event, same speaker, I believe, and it was a great event to look forward to. I know the Environmental Committee and Monsieur Bourgon will be presenting in the next few months our draft bylaw. Obviously, it doesn't apply to agriculturally zones. I don't think council has an appetite to get into that kind of reglementation on agricultural land. I know the city of Ottawa has a tree cutting bylaw, but obviously that doesn't apply to agricultural lands. So it'll be interesting to have that discussion when it comes up to table to see where we move forward with that. So anything else to announce? Seeing none. Item 21, strategic discussion. We do not have one this week, but in 2 weeks' time, Monsieur Godin, Monsieur Dagenet, we will have a strategic discussion on community engagement. I believe there has been some newsletters and some social media posts that have gone out to residents, encouraging them to reach out to their members of council to have those conversations so that they can help inform us while we have that discussion. Obviously, first part in the process, there will be a lot more engagement in that regards, but just to remind everybody, that's the process right now. With that, item 22, pursuant to Section 239, 3, and 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, motion to move into closed meeting at the hour of 6:49 PM to address matters pertaining to Section 239 of the Municipal Act 2001, SO 2001, Chapter 25, to consider matters relating to, 1, sale of land in the 417 Industrial Park, Report CS 2024-04, under Section 2C, a proposer pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board, and 2, closed session minutes of the regular council meeting dated February 26, 2024. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Tarnowski, seconded by Conseiller Lorrain. All those in favor? All those opposed? Carried. We're now going to close session. Thank you very much, everyone.